I share these words in the name of the one who calls us beloved. Amen. And so it begins, our journey through Holy Week. It is a time in our church year when we remember the final days of Jesus' life. We immerse ourselves in his story and walk with him as he journeys from his triumphant entry into Jerusalem to his torture, death, and resurrection. This week is indeed Jesus' story, and it is also our week, our story. This is the story of our identity as Christians. This week, we bring into sharp focus the moments when Jesus was betrayed, when he was tortured, when he was crucified, and when he rose from the dead. This is a week of the heart. We enter into the story of divine love, a love that reconciles, heals, makes whole, and transforms. Love is the story of creation. It is the story of the universal church. It is the story of our Redeemer community. And it is the story of every follower of Christ. It is your story. In the love we experience this week, we remember who Jesus is and who we are. Although the story unfolded 2,000 years ago, it can unfold within us today if we are open to receiving it, if we are willing to walk with Jesus through it. The longest journey that a person can take is from the head to the heart. And that is the journey we are invited to this week. To let go of thinking about the story, trying to analyze it or examine it. We are invited to let our hearts take over and enter into the mystery of the story. Be in the story and let it unfold in you. Don't try to rush it, trying to skip over the hard parts and arriving in time for the Easter celebration. Trust in the slow work of God. Commit to dwelling in the story. Attend to it each day. And each day we will gather as a community and dwell in the story together. Give yourself space to experience the kinship and the courage, the failure and the pain, the death and new life in the story. This is also a week for self-reflection. Dwelling in the story will deepen your relationship with Jesus. And as you move closer to him, it would help you gain clarity in your own life. And this clarity requires silence and stillness. So, as much as possible, avoid conversation as you enter and leave the church each day. Make time in your day for quiet. Sink into silence. Invite it to accompany you this week. Take time to examine your conscience. Take measure of your relationship with Jesus, with your family and friends. Ask yourself, how do my relationships and how I show up in the world reflect my relationship with him? Am I leading a loving life? Where do I fall short? What needs to change? If the cross teaches us anything, it is that forgiveness is God's nature. Consider taking time this week for the ministry of reconciliation. Whether practiced privately or with a priest, This is a time of personally experiencing God's healing and restoration. The phrase that Anglicans often like to think of when they think of the ministry of reconciliation is all may, none must, some should. If you wish to experience this ministry, a priest will be available in the church 30 minutes before each service this week. And lastly, this is a week for walking. In the ancient church, Christians began remembering the Paschal ministry in pilgrimages to Jerusalem. They would walk from place to place, marking the moments of Jesus' final days. They walked and walked and walked. They walked from the Mount of Olives to the place of the cross, to the tomb, and to the place of the resurrection. And as they walked, they prayed, sang, fasted, held silence, held all-night vigils, and walked by candlelight. And as they walked, they were formed by the story, and they became connected to the place of the story. In addition to seeing the buildings and the markets and the people, they became aware of the natural world in which the story unfolded. They walked on rocky and hilly ground, felt the daytime heat and the chill of cold evenings. Their eyesight adjusted to the brilliance of the sun and the sparkling of the stars, and they took refuge from the sun under trees and shrubs. Walk and pray your way through Holy Week. We may not be in Jerusalem, but walking here in our place, you might just begin to connect the events that unfolded in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago to the events unfolding here today and to the events unfolding in your own life. Walk with Jesus this week and see where your heart takes you. Be not afraid. Your heart knows the way. Let it lead you to the tortured one, to the crucified one, to the risen one, to the fullness of God. Amen.